Welcome back to the Mining Your Business podcast, a show all about process mining, data science, and advanced business analytics. I'm Patrick, and with me, as always, my colleague Jakub. Hey, Jakub.
Hey, Patrick.
Today's episode is all about what is an on-premise instance, what is a cloud, and what are the pros and cons of both. Let's get into it.
Hey, Patrick. So we are in yet another episode, and today we will be talking about on-site versus cloud problematics. But before we do so, I just want to touch a little on what's up to date with the process mining community. And we do pre-record these episodes quite in advance. So I think this one we record in the mid of April, while it will launch in about June. But still hanging with us. What's been going on was actually the biggest process mining event there is, which is called Celosphere. And I'll be honest with you, I was watching some of the videos there. I was watching some of the shows, some of the guests, and a huge thumbs up to the whole Celonis team who stands behind this, because I can't even imagine how much work went into it. And if you are listening to this podcast and by any chance missed this, well, I would just say the following. Make sure you don't miss it the next year, because this is really something.
Yeah, I tuned in a little bit. I caught a glimpse of some of the videos. Man, the quality, the production value, it's a spectacle for sure.
Yeah, and not to mention all the guests that are talking there. So I hope and I wish that at least some of those people will eventually turn out here in our podcast.
Oh, absolutely.
And who knows, maybe next year we are going to be the speakers in the Celosphere. Let's just hope for that.
One can always dream.
Yeah, the special guests from Mining Your Business podcast.
I like the sound of that. All right.
But we will not bore you anymore with what we are watching and with how awesome Celosphere is. You probably know that already. But we will jump into the topic that we have today. And as I said, and as Patrick introduced you already into the episode, we will be talking about the differences between on-site implementation and cloud. We will generally talk about some basics. We will discuss pros and cons. And we will also touch how does this impact you, especially in your process mining initiative.
Yeah, so generally, I think it'd be a good idea to kind of introduce what is actually meant by cloud, what is actually meant by on-premise. So let's just kind of get into that. When we talk about an on-site deployment, it basically means that the servers, the maintenance, the infrastructure, the connections, and everything is handled by the company that it's hosted in. So if you have an on-site deployment of a server that is hosted by you in some form or another, in some server rack connected by you, maintained by you, and everything has to be controlled by you. A cloud deployment, on the other hand, is where all that hardware, server, connection, and firewall, and everything like that is handled by a third-party provider. So they will handle the infrastructure, they will handle your connection, the scaling, and everything for you. So that is that is kind of the difference.
Yeah, and in today's world, what is actually happening is that I would say there is a huge initiative leaning towards the cloud solutions. And a lot of companies now choose exclusively cloud for their services, as it has a lot of perks actually choosing this. And we will get into that. Obviously, we will weigh in what are the pros and cons for you and for your company, maybe. Before we do so, I also want to mention, as much as we are experts in process mining and we love data science, we are not cloud architects, right, Patrick?
So, yeah, not really.
If you're listening to this podcast and by any chance you are a cloud architect and would like to actually come here and talk about the details
nuts and bolts of it.
Yeah, exactly. Very nice expression, Patrick. Thank you for that. Then please reach out to us. We will be happy to talk to you. But in any case, for everyone else who has a decent chance about technology, let's introduce him into this. when we talk about on-site, in my opinion, it has a lot of perks for the company to choose this kind of implementation. One of them is that it can be perk and it can also be downside. That is, the hardware itself is maintained by you. So, for instance, when you choose to do a process mining initiative and you decide to go for on-site implementation, what you do is that all the software is running on your hosted servers. So that means that you have it in your hand, that if there is any downtime, it's all on you, and you might even expect this. You might know when these downtimes will be. You can always upside it. You can also downside it, and it's generally you have a very, very big flexibility with what you do.
Right. So with the hardware, you touched on a very interesting point. So I mean, if you see these quote unquote obstacles with maintaining your own server, having an IT employee on site to handle outages and things like that, you're wondering, why would you ever do that? Well, there's one very good reason to, or there's several reasons why you would want to, but I will talk about one. One is security, right? If you are, for example, in an industry that has a lot of regulations, you might be more inclined to choose an on-premise system because the data you have will always be in-house. You don't have to transfer it via internet or anything. It is stored on your site, and you have total control over where it goes, where it ends up, and things like that. So that is one very good point.
Yeah, I guess the security officers in your company will always vouch for for on-site implementation.
Well, yeah, because there's been a lot of security issues relating to cloud systems, some breaches. So you do have to make a very good judgment call about the cloud provider you choose, if you do, or if you just say we'll stick with the IT hassle of providing our own maintenance and all those things for the benefit of having that security.
And this is not to say that cloud by default is less secure, but when there is a security breach in either one, in either on-site implementation or in cloud, in on-site, it's always on you. While cloud, whoever is hosting it for you can say that, can put the hands away from that and say it's not even their fault. So I don't want to imply that cloud by default is less secure, but in your own settings, in your own environment, you just have way more possibilities on what you can do.
Oh, of course, of course. So, and this is especially important now in the age of data security and
GDPR.
GDPR. I was about to say exactly. So, where you need to make sure that the data that you have, especially if it's sensitive data, that it ends up in the exact places where you need, and that's easier to control if you have an on-premise system.
Right. What about updates?
Yes. So that's an interesting topic. So I was working in change management in a very large firm, and there it was all about managing updates to certain systems. And it was kind of like playing whack-a-mole, because you would fix one bug in one system, and then that would have corollary effects in some other system because that one relied on the thing that you just changed. So there's so many interdependencies that you now need to make sure all work, right? So the maintenance, the change management of it gets progressively more complex the more things you bring in-house.
Yeah, now imagine that, just an example, there is 100 companies and all are doing process mining. So let's say that there is one scenario and all 100 companies decide to go for on-site, and then the second scenario, all 100 companies decide to go for cloud. Now, when they are going for on-site, each company is facing exact same issue and exact same problems every time there is some update or every time something needs to be enhanced or so. And just imagine, do the calculation times 100 and how much time it costs each company to do each such an incremental change or upgrade. When these 100 companies are all in cloud, all it takes is one company to do the change, the enhancement for them, and it saves insane amount of manpower, probably money and time as well.
Oh, of course. And I mean, it is to be said that you get to control the updates on an on-premise system. You have complete control over, hey, this version runs on my system, in my infrastructure. It works perfectly. All these things work, and I don't need to change them. I don't need an update. It works perfectly the way I want it, and that's fine. right?
Yeah.
But with that also comes the danger of missing some critical either security updates or things like that. So you run the risk of outdating your own software and being kind of shackled
Yeah.
by that.
Yeah. On the other hand, since we are saying always it's in your house and it's under your control, for us as a data scientists, if I had to choose for you, for your company, for my customer, whether they should decide to go for on-premise or cloud, I would always vouch for cloud because for us it just makes our life so much easier. Each company that we are dealing with on daily basis are usually huge enterprises. And as such, they have a lot of security measures. And you just don't go and connect to their to their systems and to their financial data and productive data and so on. It takes some roundabouts. You have to go to the people, talk to them, ask for permissions, and just all of this can take weeks or months before you are actually able to get an access to their environment, which is usually a VPN, virtual private network. And all this is usually very tedious. And once you have issues, and let's say the access stops working, there are a lot of things that can fall apart because you have some deadlines, you have some targets that you need to do, and suddenly you just can't connect to a customer's VPN, and then you have to talk to a customer support and talk to people on the other side of the planet and ask them what did go wrong, what do I have to do, and no one has a clue what you should actually do. So the VPN access, that's a tricky thing.
That is a very good point. So if you go the route of hosting everything on site and you do everything by yourself, for people like us who come into your house and do some data science, it's a bit tricky. We get stopped at the gate for a long time. There's a security check, there's a security line. It takes a little bit for us to get in, which I guess is kind of the point, right? You don't want any data breaches or things like that, right? So you need to be careful. But for us to go in and do our work, there's usually a lot of obstacles to overcome. So we're I guess, a little bit biased on this side.
I love how you said, let's do some data science.
That's how I feel sometimes.
Priceless. What about price?
Well, that's a good point. So, of course, we already mentioned that you have to host the server hardware yourself. That means you have to buy the server, you have to buy the software license of whatever you're trying to run, right? You need to provide the integration capabilities, right? You need to make sure that it works in the system that you already have, right? It needs to attach to the right things. And additionally, one of the main things, what if something breaks, right? You need to have an IT employee on hand to fix the outages, right? And because if you don't, there could be some time, days, where you just don't have access to the data that you have in this software, whatever you're trying to license, right? And that could be attributed to a lot of costs.
Plus, it's probably much easier to blame someone for your system not working, which would be the case when you go for cloud. While when something is not working and you or your department is responsible for it, you might wait before you point any fingers because it might just very well be your fault. Who knows?
That's a very good point. I mean, that's a very good point because in the cloud you have the agreements about how much uptime the cloud provider has to give you, right? And as soon as they don't, you're like, well, you didn't stick to the agreement, and there's some monetary implications on that. So there is an upside to the cloud in the price category.
You mentioned the uptime when the cloud has to be. Do you think, in general, the stability when we talk about how well the system runs, can we even compare the two? Can we even compare on-site and cloud and say which one is indefinitely better than the other, or is it equal game? Let's say.
Oh, they're completely different things. So if you're talking about an on-premise outage, right? You can just go to your employee and say, "Hey, can you just plug it out and plug it back in again, and just boot it up again?" And there's practically no implications. But if you're hosting if you're a cloud provider, you can't just do that, right? You can't just quickly say, oh yeah, by the way, we're just going to pull the plug on everything and just reboot it. That might also solve the problem, but it's not as easy because you are providing a service not just for one customer, but for many, many customers, depending on your business, of course. But it is two very different things. If you host it in-house, you can just walk over to the server, kick it a few times, and then you're good. But on cloud, it's very hard to kick a cloud.
Okay, so now we talked a bit about on-site and how we feel about it. Let's jump to the cloud solution. As I said, in today's world, cloud solutions are on the rise and essentially overtaking everything. I mean, just think about your personal life and how much you are using cloud solution. When you use Google Drive, or even Gmail, everything is on the cloud somewhere. Same for Netflix. I mean, you don't buy DVDs anymore. You don't download the movies. You just watch them. The movies are stored somewhere on the server, who knows where. And you don't even physically get those movies. You just watch them. You pay subscription so that the service itself enables you to do this. And when we talk about B2C solutions, it's coming the same. It's becoming the same world. So process mining solutions such as Celonis and all the business solutions, business data mining, and so are also leaning towards this trend and are becoming more and more cloud-based solution. And even though they still offer they offer the old model on the on-site model, such even Celonis does still, they promote cloud much more because even for them, it's way easier to maintain one cloud than to talk to each customer separately and fix their issues with the software.
Oh, absolutely. And you touched on a very good point with this Netflix comparison. So one point that I would like to say is convenience. The convenience of the cloud is unparalleled. Because if we're doing this Netflix comparison, if you want to watch a movie, you can just go to netflix.com and watch.
Yeah.
But watch it on Blu-ray, well, guess what? Now you need a Blu-ray player. Now you need to go out and buy one, or you need to wait for Amazon to ship it to you or something. There's an upfront cost to even getting it. And then imagine not even liking the movie, right? You bought a Blu-ray player for nothing, right? So that's where the convenience of a cloud comes in. You buy the service, you use it, you say, it's a bit crap, I don't want it. You didn't even have any costs.
Yeah, I would say that for cloud, there's also something that you need pre-hand, which is internet connection. But I mean, it's not 2005 anymore, and I assume that most of us have access to the internet wherever we go. So I won't even touch on this.
This is very true. So unless you're out in a jungle somewhere, internet is pretty easy to come by nowadays, especially when you want to relax somewhere and watch Netflix. You're usually in a place that has internet.
Yeah. And arguably, it's probably even easier for you, let's say, if the connection is not stable. It's still much better for you to use to work with cloud rather than to access the VPN, because once you lose the access to VPN onto on-site, you don't want that to happen, because then you just have to re-access everything, and that's a very annoying thing to do.
Of course. And speaking about technical issues, the support costs of the cloud solution essentially disappears. It's baked into the service that the cloud provider is selling, right? You have of course have an agreement that the service desk is also available for you for a set amount of time per year, and you get to write your tickets. Hey, I can't connect, and then they have to deal with it, right? You don't have to employ somebody for that. You don't have to get some guy into your house to fix it or anything like that, right? It's already baked into your contract.
However, this can be a two-edged sword. So even though there's someone who's doing all the heavy lifting for you, and you don't have to worry about updates and some issues and so on, when something goes wrong for you, the cloud service is essentially a black box. So each cloud provider usually have this website, something like status.providername.com or something like this, where they track and monitor what is the status of each of the server that they are giving to you. So just yesterday I had this experience with and not process mining, but Google. Actually, I wanted to edit something in a Google Doc, and it just wasn't working. I just couldn't copy paste in a Google Sheet, which was very weird. And then it doesn't happen for Google. You think like Google, this is this service that just works 100% of time, 24/7, 365 days of a year. And then I actually Googled a status for the Google services, and it was really down. It was having some technical issues, and they said they are working on it. And it was eventually resolved. But at this moment, I just couldn't copy paste into Google Doc, which became for me quite an annoying thing at that moment. While in the Word document that I would have probably on my computer, I would not face this issue.
Right. And I mean that's a fair point. So if you have technical issues, I think the best thing you can do is be transparent about it. There's nothing worse than a user being frustrated because they don't know why they can't do something that they were previously capable of doing. Like you copy and pasting, you don't know why. Because at some point you were think maybe I'm the problem, right? And then you feel stupid, and you don't want that. You want transparency and say, hey, we have an outage. Okay, great. Now I know that there's a problem and that the fix is going on, and I can be updated.
Plus, you save yourself a lot of open tickets.
This is very, very true.
What about when you want to start with cloud?
Well, I kind of mentioned that at the beginning. It's the convenience, right? So if you want to get a software as a service from a cloud provider, it is very easy to contact the cloud provider. The negotiations are obviously a different thing depending on what you're getting. But if, for example, signing up for Netflix, for example, is very easy, right? Sign up. Here's my billing information. Bam, easy. I'm ready to go, right?
Yeah.
The convenience of setting up your cloud is very simple, right? So there are obviously differences in the type of service that you're getting. So obviously with Netflix, it's very easy because it's an individual customer. But for example, with Celonis, there are some setups. I know you and I have done plenty of cloud setups before. And how would you rate it on the difficulty scale?
Oh man. So one being Netflix-like, super easy and convenient to set up.
And 2
5
and 10 being in a quarry and mining for coal or something.
Oh man. Well, when you say 10 mining for coal, all you need is a pickaxe and you just go and start mining. Right? How hard can this be? I would still say it's 5. So there is more going into it than just getting your IBC instance up and running. Because there is, and this is something, if any customer success manager or salesperson from Celonis is listening to this, I know when you are selling your service to the customer, you always want them to feel like it's easy, and I can acknowledge it is, but it's not as easy as out of the box solution that you just connect to Netflix and you just watch all the movies. There is still a lot of work that's happening in the background, which is basically, and the most vital thing is to connect to your data, to even have something that you can eventually show to the customers.
Exactly. So it's kind of like buying a box of Lego, and it comes, but it's not ready yet. You have to go assemble. You have to read through the instructions line by line and until you have exactly what you need.
Admittedly, this is much more fun going with the Lego box. I would probably, if I had to choose between setting up a Celonis instance for a customer or unpacking a box of Lego, I would probably go for the Lego.
Man, if I could get paid for building Lego, man, that'd be the dream.
Have you checked your LinkedIn recently? Maybe there are some positions opening.
Maybe. Okay, so next topic. Scalability. I think this is a big one. I think this is one of the biggest things for the cloud, right? So if you have an on-premise system, you are limited just physically by the hardware that you have, right? The cloud provider can say, oh, this person is attaching more users. I will just upgrade their RAM or their clusters or whatever it is. It's a lot more scalable and a lot easier to scale, right? Because as soon as, for example, you need more hardware, you have to go buy that hardware. You have to install that hardware. You need to make it connect properly. But then it turns out you didn't actually need the hardware. So now you just have a random server lying around, right? So
Yeah.
there are a lot of there's a lot of convenience in the cloud solution for adapting the amount of resources, amount of GPU time, amount of clock time, or whatever it is, to specific customers.
On the other hand, it can also backfire a bit. So when you go into a process mining initiative, you have some expectations on what you're going to do, what you're going to implement, how much data you are actually going to need for your license. And the licensing itself, it can also get a bit complicated because you have way more variables in your total calculations, such as how much space you actually need, how much users are going to be using it, and so on and so forth. So let's just leave this. But the thing is that you can underestimate what you need. And now you are a year into implementation. Let's say you haven't reached your goals yet. You are having some delays and something. And you already know that you are running short on your license. And now you have to go to your boss and ask him for more money because it's not for free to just upgrade your license and get another 50% of APC, right?
Of course.
The scalability is great, but it also comes with a price.
Oh, of course. And I mean that's a good point. So a lot of them will be like pay as you go. So you use so much CPU time, so you pay in this and this much, right? That's fair. But for we can say this on a internal level, we have left servers running, test servers that we use to test scripts, and just kind of forgot to turn them off until we got the bill. Right. And we saw that, hey, we just left the server on for a month without really doing anything with it. And of course the cost exploded. So we need there are some costs associated with it. And if you don't have an eye on the amount of resources you use, those costs can very much balloon.
It almost sounds as if you were talking about experience we had internally in our company.
Yeah, no, I was referencing that. So that is what happened to us. So we learned the hard way. And even us, as I would say, competent folk can sometimes forget these things.
Yeah, so make sure you switch down the AWS instances when you don't need them. They are costly, especially for mid-size or smaller companies.
Exactly. So speaking of the next point, little control over the updates, right? So like I said previously, in the on-premise system, you have very much control about what runs on your servers. You install it, it runs, no need to worry, right? But a cloud solution can just push updates to the service. We now provide this update, right? And if you're relying on it, it can just break a thing that you were using, right? Mm-hmm. So this can often occur, right? Obviously, cloud providers try not to break the things that you were relying on, so only deprecate within months of letting the users know, hey, this function will be deprecated and things like that. But the updates are just pushed. There's a rollout coming and there's nothing you can do, right? Mm-hmm. So with that comes stability of the software, right? They don't just roll out new functions or patches because they want to. They do it because there's security implications. There's new functionalities that they want to offer. There's stability, right? Crashes in the software that they want to fix. There's a lot of things that go into updates, and updates are a very, very good thing. But your lack of controlling them when using this cloud service is a bit of a negative.
Yeah. I don't think I have anything more to add to this, but I will jump into the last point we have here when comparing cloud and on-site solutions. And as you can see, it's not an easy decision. There's a lot of things that each person or each company has to consider when picking one or the other. But one last thing I wanted to mention, and that actually explains to me why there are such a huge marketing shenanigans going for each cloud solution. And that is that once you are in the cloud, it's very difficult to leave it because cloud solutions, as great as they are, they work to a certain degree as these silos that hook you in and don't let you out. Because now everything is only compatible with this cloud solution. Obviously, you don't just switch between cloud solution as if there was nothing. Although obviously it's possible, but with some limitations. And the overall goal for these business models is to keep you as a customer. So they will do anything to keep you, because for the companies it's a recurring revenue, right? And as long as you are a customer, paying customer, they don't have problems.
Exactly. And imagine if you have an ERP solution as a cloud service, right? And then you go to your manager and tell him or her that, hey, I want to put this on the on-premise, but it's going to require so and so many servers with this and this much infrastructure with this and this price tag upfront right now. He or she is going to have a bit of a shock, let's say.
If anything, we do it the other way, so going from on-site to cloud, and that's actually going to be a topic of our next episode, because we have extensive knowledge and experience with this. So we can't wait to tell you about it.
Do we want to throw a little mention to the hybrid cloud?
For sure, Patrick, go ahead. It's all yours.
So we have spoken about on-premise systems and cloud systems, but there is a push currently right now, a very big push to offer hybrid clouds. Now, what is hybrid clouds? Probably a few disambiguations about the word hybrid cloud, but it is essentially a cloud service that is offered to you privately, right? So there's a different technical setup that I'm sure somebody working in the hybrid cloud field can tell you all about, but it's not me. But essentially, what it is, it's a public cloud and private cloud together that can offer your company privately the services that it would normally offer publicly, right? Which gives you the same kind of flexibility and scalability of a cloud, but it's hosted, in your private space.
Yeah. On the other hand, it comes with a lot of headache, because when you have an issue, it can come from anywhere. It can be your fault. It can be the cloud company's fault. And debugging problems like this, that's a nightmare.
Oh yeah, we've had our run-ins with some hybrid clouds, and it is usually I have to deal with some issues in hybrid clouds, and let me tell you, it is never fun.
Just so many things that can go wrong, and also the overall compatibility of the two solutions. Even though on paper they say it's possible, in reality there is so many things that can prevent it. And when you were saying, when we were talking about the updates in on-site solutions, just I can imagine that one update can throw a lot of things off.
Absolutely. So these are the things that you need to watch out for. We've spoken about the two main on-premise and hybrid cloud, and so you need to kind of, depending, of course, on your use case, what you're trying to achieve, what your long-term goals are. Is this a thing that you want to invest in for a month or 5 years or things like that? It's very much depends on your use case. But I hope that with this little tidbit of information we've given you today, that you are more comfortable kind of knowing what is really talked about when people mention on-premise or on-site or cloud.
So Patrick, let's sum up this episode. Imagine we are going to do a process mining initiative. We do want to put our company on the map, so we do some very cool process mining project. And I don't want to touch on Celonis on-site versus cloud, because I think that's going to be a topic for our next episode, especially for the migration itself, where we're going to explain some differences. But let's sum it up. What should you choose, and what would you choose, and what things would you consider?
My God, that is a difficult question. It very much depends on what industry am I in, right? So if I am in a heavily regulated industry, for example, if I'm a payment processor or an insurance provider or things like that, where I'm dealing with sensitive issues with lots of compliance issues and lots of compliance regulations, things like that, I would opt to go on site. Personally, I would pick that because you have all the data, right? And with an introduction of cloud services for on-premise, I think be more likely that for the future that I can get the same kind of flexibility, maybe not as great, but probably the same flexibility in my large enterprise, but still maintain my castle, my defended castle of secure information.
Yeah, for me, if I had to choose, I also would weigh in obviously the preparedness of my company. Where are we at? How is the overall faith in our systems and in how we are running it? Is it awesome, or do we have an issues that we are aware of? But personally, I would probably go for cloud, as I know how many perks it has compared to the on-site solution. And one of them is just that it's always up to date. It's always with the latest features. You can do everything the moment it's released, if obviously it's your pricing plan. And you once you have the infrastructure set up, and that's what I was saying with the cloud, because there is a lot of work that goes into setting everything up so that you can, let's say, in case of process mining, you have to extract the data into the cloud first. So that's some work that has to go in it. But then once you have it in, you are not reliant on the IT departments of the company you are doing the implementations for, and you can only talk to business. And admittedly, this is way more rewarding than making sure that the IT setup is working properly. Because I am actually, at the moment, I am on the other side of the barrier. So I'm doing the on-site implementation, and there's always some issue. Expiration of the user accounts, downtimes of our testing environment for such reasons like reloading the data, or so they are replicating from production to quality where we are doing the development. And we had a plan where we basically said we will deliver this and this by then. And then suddenly, without notification, because we are just some consultants, we had a week-long downtime of our development system where we just couldn't do anything. And then when we finally did something, then there was another issue that was now a security patch, and the users who were doing the validation of the data at that point suddenly couldn't access the dashboards and the reports that we spent weeks or months building. And for me, that's just very frustrating, because it's not in my hands. There's nothing I can do about it. And then the business users, the first impression they have from what you've done, what you've been doing, is negative. And building this trust for me as a data scientist, and for someone who's trying to persuade them that what I've done for them as a solution is great and they should love it, is very difficult to obtain. And when the first impression is bad, then you have to build from scratch, and that's never easy.
Yeah, of course. Personally, I am currently doing a migration project that I know you're aware of, and we are going to get into that in the next episode. But let me tell you, it is also a hassle to go from an on-premise to a cloud, right? So if you're thinking about making a switch from a service that you have on-site to cloud, you might want to stick around for the next episode.
Right. So that's, I think, it, Patrick, for today. Let's keep it short for once, shall we? I would like to thank you all for listening to today's episode. We are very happy to have you as our fans, listener, followers. If you have any question whatsoever, write us an email on miningyourbusinesspodcast@gmail.com. Otherwise, we'll be looking forward to in another episode in 2 weeks, and you already know the topic. It's going to be about migration, and we will get very specific, since we do deal with Celonis a lot. We will be talking about Celonis migration. Stick by, and we're looking forward to that. Thanks, Patrick.
Thank you, Jakub. Bye, everybody.